Hello and welcome to the milestone second episode of Matt and Joe's Media Overload. I'm Matt.
And I'm Joe.
And today we're going to be talking about the Evil Dead franchise. For those of you who don't know, the Evil Dead franchise is a horror, comedy, and so much more franchise that was created by director Sam Raimi, who's probably best known as the director of the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. And it stars the late, great Mr. Bruce Campbell, the King of B movies, God rest his soul.
Wait.
What?
The late, great Bruce, is he dead?
No, he's not dead. I just thought that sounded nice to say. And,
What?
Anyway, earlier this week marked the 25th anniversary of the third movie in the franchise, and probably the most popular, definitely has the biggest cult following, Army of Darkness. It came out in 1992. And you actually have sort of a personal connection to this movie, right?
Yes, I do. We're going to talk about this, and who knows where we'll go?
Who knows where we'll go? If you listened to last week's episode, you know that we'll probably get off topic and go off the rails a little bit.
So, Army of Darkness.
Yes, your connection to this movie.
Okay, so when I was a young lad, wait, what year was it?
1992, yes.
I think I was like 10. I guess I was 10.
Uh-huh.
I had never...
Well, you either were or you weren't 10
I'm
years
not sure.
old. What year were you born?
I was born in 1982.
So you were probably 10 years old.
Shit. Alright, anyway. So my parents were in the living room. We were living in Texas at the time. And I happened to come down the stairs. They were watching a movie, and I was like, "What are you guys watching?" And they were like, "Army of Darkness." I was like, "Oh, okay." And they're like, "It's rated R." And I was like, "Oh, so I can't watch it." And Dad was like, "You know what? Have a seat, son." I sit down in the middle of the living room.
Yeah.
Start watching Army of Darkness, and I got to tell you, fell absolutely in love with it.
Yeah.
And I remember I remember going like to my parents like, "This is what rated R movies are?" And I remember Dad going like, "It's because it's a comedy," to my mom. I didn't realize, what it was at the time, but, now in retrospect, I get it.
Yeah.
But, man, Army of Darkness.
Great movie.
Fuck
a lot
me.
of fun.
Yeah.
Very rewatchable, very quotable, funny. We'll get into all that later, though.
Sure.
That's a really good first R-rated movie. My first R-rated movie was The Seed of Chucky. Was the first.
Damn.
Yeah, I mean, I like that movie. I like that franchise.
Sure.
We'll probably talk about that in a future episode. But, what I think is interesting, though, is that both of us, like, our first R-rated movies were sort of horror comedies.
Yeah.
Different, very different, and,
more comedy in mine, I think.
Yeah, and not as much horror, but
right.
The elements are there. But we'll get into that later when we actually talk about Army of Darkness, because, as I mentioned earlier, it's the third movie in this franchise. Mm-hmm. The franchise actually goes back to 1981 with the release of the first movie, The Evil Dead, which actually it goes back a little further than that. The Evil Dead was actually based on a short film that Sam Raimi directed called Within the Woods, which is basically sort of the same plot, but it's just a short film.
How can you see that? I've never heard that.
It's probably on YouTube. I actually haven't watched it. This is just
Into the Woods?
Within the Woods.
Within the Woods.
Within the Woods, yes.
Huh. That was one of the gifts that you were talking about earlier, I guess.
Yeah, that was one of the surprises that I had for you.
Matt's got a few surprises. He set the outline up for the podcast, and we went through it, just to kind of keep things going. He goes, "Well, I'm not going to say what this is because I want you to be surprised." Yeah. I'm like, "God damn it, man! All right, well, fine." Yeah.
That
was number one.
Yeah, and
I don't remember how many there were.
There's several.
Oh, okay.
And I feel like this would be a good time to mention that if you have not seen any of the films in the Evil Dead franchise, there could possibly be some spoilers ahead. We're probably not going to go really far into plot details, but we'll definitely be talking about particular scenes and.
But
things
also,
like
if you haven't seen these movies by now, shame on you.
that. Yeah, yeah.
Your fault.
1981.
Your fault.
Yeah.
Your fault.
If you haven't, though, you can listen to this later after you've watched them, because you definitely should watch them. They're all really good. But anyway, back to the first movie, The Evil Dead. This movie was actually filmed right here in the state of Tennessee, in East Tennessee, Morristown, Tennessee, in an actual...
Yeah. We live in Tennessee.
Yeah, Middle Tennessee.
Shout out Tennessee.
Tennessee, what's up?
Nice.
Yeah, that was.
Okay, so where?
So
Morristown,
Morristown, Tennessee, in an actual abandoned cabin, which is pretty creepy.
Yeah.
And apparently behind the scenes of filming this movie, it was just a train wreck. I think Bruce Campbell, God rest his soul,
Bruce Campbell's not dead, Matt. Matt, he's not dead.
Not yet.
What does that mean?
Well, he's gonna die.
Are you?
Well, he could die tomorrow. And
Are you an assassin?
No, but people listening to this in the future he might be dead, and they'll.
In the future.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Anyway, he described the process of making this movie. I keep thinking he's dead. He described the process of making this movie as a comedy of errors. Apparently, a lot of stuff went wrong. It was hell for however many days they were filming it, because, like I said, they were filming actually on location in this cabin, and apparently there was a lot of weed on the set. Have you heard that before?
Yeah, I remember listening. I think it was like a behind the scenes, like you were saying, like a behind the scenes documentary, and I remember Bruce Campbell going. We were high the entire time we were filming the movie, and he was like, apparently I didn't realize this, but Tennessee had really good weed. So he was very high the entire time he was filming the first movie.
Yeah.
I don't know about the second one, but...
Well, I actually,
one, I think.
when I was reading up on this movie and stuff, there's a scene in the movie where... okay, so basically the movie, just to kind of set up what it's about, is it's a group of 5... college-age students.
And again, just to reference, this is the first Evil Dead movie.
Yeah, the first Evil Dead movie. It's a group of 5 college students who are going on their spring break or whatever, and for some reason they're going into a cabin in Tennessee.
Wait, why did they go to the cabin? Do you know?
Because that is what had to happen to set up a horror movie.
Okay.
I guess is the only reason, because it couldn't possibly that exciting.
That's about as much sense as it could make, I suppose.
And anyway, while they're there, they come across this this tape recorder that has these tapes where it has these incantations that resurrect these evil spirits and demons and stuff, and that's what sets up the movie and stuff. But anyway, apparently. Sam Raimi thought it would be a good idea for that scene where they're listening to the incantations for them to be high and stuff, like they would be smoking pot and stuff while they were doing that scene, but actually doing it, not just props and stuff. They would actually be smoking weed. And apparently the actors got so high that it just completely ruined.
Did they do it in the movie?
No, they didn't, because they had...
because they fucked up.
Yeah, they messed it all up. Their behavior was just too erratic and stuff. So they were like, yeah, never mind. So they just completely scrapped it and stuff. Another interesting thing about this movie is that Sam Raimi originally wanted to call the movie The Book of the Dead, which is a reference to the Necronomicon, which is... sort of...
That was another surprise.
Yeah, that's one of the other surprises I had for you.
Number 2, guys. Wow.
Number 2, but
I didn't know that.
The producer of the film decided that he didn't want it to be called Book of the Dead, because he thought that kids wouldn't want to watch it because they thought it would be a literary reference.
Wait, what?
It would be a reference to literature and stuff. Yeah, it's real stupid. I like
dumb as shit.
Yeah, I like the title Evil Dead better, personally, but...
Book of the Dead. Evil Dead.
I like Evil Dead better.
Yeah, it's shorter. It's concise.
But I just thought that was an interesting little trivia tidbit.
What in the fuck?
The original title, yeah.
Kids won't want to watch it.
So...
Shit does that mean?
I mean,
All right, whatever.
it's probably the same guy that thought that Back to the Future's title should be Spacemen from Pluto or something like
What
that.
in the
Have you ever
fuck?
heard that before?
No.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that's like an actual studio note that Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale got about the movie. We're getting off topic talking about Back
That's
to the
okay,
Future.
but it's just as ridiculous.
Yeah, apparently this producer was like, it sent him like a memo and stuff like, I think the title of the movie should be Spacemen from Pluto.
What the fuck?
I know, it's awful.
Jesus Christ.
Like, who would ever
oh,
think that?
God. All right.
But back to the Evil Dead.
Ugh.
So there's one particular scene that I really want to talk about. And that is the very controversial, infamous tree rape scene.
You know, I just want to point out that we're into episode 2, and we're already talking about rape again.
Yes, again.
Anyway.
Well, the tree rape
Okay, tree rape.
in Evil Dead. What did you think about that? Because at the time it was very controversial.
Yeah, I mean,
Very graphic for its time.
yeah, that tree was ripping her clothes off, and yeah, it raped her.
Yeah, like it sent like a vine up inside.
I mean,
her.
what do you mean? What I think? Did I get
Well,
off on it? It was kind of
Well,
sexy.
no. Oh my god. That's not exactly what I meant. I just because it was so controversial at the time, and apparently Sam Raimi himself has even said that if he could go back and do it over, he wouldn't include that scene in the movie.
Why?
I guess he thought it was just going too far. Possibly.
That-
A lot of directors kind of had those.
I mean, maybe
hindsight.
back then, but nowadays,
Well, no.
a tree raping a chick is really not that big
It's
a
not
deal.
that graphic either. I mean,
Again, nowadays, a tree raping a chick is really not that big a deal.
yeah. I mean,
It happens like every other day.
Well, we'll talk about it later, but it happened in the 2013 Evil Dead movie as well, which was a little more graphic, just
Fuck
a
that
little.
piece of
but-
shit.
Well, we'll get to that later, but
Okay.
um,
All right, so yeah, I mean, you know, the tree raped the chick.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah. I mean,
it's kind of hot.
well, let's quit talking about whether or not trees raping women is hot. I do not condone anything that Joe is saying right now. I don't. But I did want to talk about that scene just because, like I said, it was such a controversial thing. What are your opinions on that movie overall? It's the first movie in the franchise, so it sets everything up. What do you think about it?
I don't. Sorry, I really don't think that movie represents anything about the Evil Dead franchise. To be honest, it's its own thing.
Well, I mean, it definitely tried to be more of a straight-up horror movie.
But again, I haven't seen it in quite some time.
Yeah,
You've seen it more recently than I have.
and probably more times. Have you seen it more than once?
I've seen it maybe twice.
Okay, I've seen it a handful of times.
Because I like the second one better.
Yeah, I do too, personally. But I am a fan of the first one, and
So I'm really the wrong person to ask.
okay. Well, in my opinion, it was supposed to be a serious horror movie, but because of the budget constraints and things like that,
People getting high.
Hmm?
And people getting high.
and the people getting high and stuff, it comes across a little campy, a little cheesy at times, but I think that all that considered, it does a really good job at being a well-made horror movie. I think that Sam Raimi, for his feature film debut, it was a really good start for his career. A lot of those things that would later become his trademarks, like those POV shots running through the woods and stuff, like those are things that have become trademarks, like staples
Right.
of his career and stuff.
Right.
They started right there, and I think that overall it's a good introduction to the franchise. Not the best, not the high point, but a good start. I like the movie. I do. I enjoy it. I like those stop motion scenes towards the end with like the bodies like decomposing like really fast. You remember those?
Right.
So-
No, man. Yeah, unfortunately, I just really don't remember much about
Yeah.
that first movie.
I mean, it's a little.
I really probably should have watched it before we did this, but
Yeah, we
I watched everything else.
We
so.
tried to catch up on everything beforehand, and I actually did watch this movie a few days ago again.
Yeah, I should watch this one too.
Yeah, it's for what it is at face value. I think it's a good movie.
A lot of
I
people
think it's
think
successful.
that. I just really like the second one better.
I do too, and I think that's a good place to go right into the second one. Evil Dead 2: Dead by Dawn came in 1987.
Wait, so I was going to ask: is there a movie between Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2?
No.
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 Okay.
It goes into Evil Dead 2 in a way because this series has very strange continuity, if it even really has continuity at all. Basically, the beginning of Evil Dead 2 is a condensed remake of the first movie.
I'd agree with
So
that.
it retells, like, basically the first 10 minutes retell the entire events of the first movie. And the reason they did that is because Sam Raimi did not have the rights to his own film.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it belonged to a studio, so he didn't have the rights to use any scenes from Evil Dead in Evil Dead 2 for the beginning and stuff. So Evil Dead, the first Evil Dead ends with the spirits from the Necronomicon and stuff. It's one of those classic POV shots I mentioned of Sam Raimi coming through the woods, and it comes to Ash, and it comes right at his face. He screams. It cuts to black. Credits roll. That's the end of the movie. Right. And that's where Evil Dead 2 was supposed to pick up immediately at that point. But Sam Raimi wanted to include a little recap because it had been so long. Like I said, it came out Evil Dead 2 came out in 1987, so it's 6 whole years after the first movie. So he wanted to include a little recap, but wasn't able to use clips from his own movie because he couldn't secure the rights to it. So he basically got Bruce Campbell to take on the role of Ash again, as he did in the first movie. But all the other characters besides Ash's girlfriend, Linda, are cut. Linda is played by a different actress.
Right.
And basically it just has a few little short scenes, like when she gets possessed and becomes a deadite, and he has to kill her, he buries her, she comes back, he decapitates her, the whole thing. He gives her the necklace again that he gave her in the first movie. All that's in there again.
Right.
And then it once again ends with the spirit coming towards him and hitting him, and then actually where the true beginning of Evil Dead 2 starts is Ash gets possessed by the spirit and the sun comes up and saves him from that, because when the sun comes up the spirit goes away and he's no longer a deadite, and then it goes into this whole thing. But that's a problem that this series has, is continuity being kind of messed up, because this isn't the first time this wait, I take that back. This is the first time it happens, but it's not the last time. I mean, this series' continuity is very, very odd.
Okay.
But we'll get more into that later. This movie is also a shift in the tone of the franchise, because it's where the franchise doesn't take itself quite so seriously, and it becomes a horror comedy.
Yeah, it becomes very comedic.
Yeah, much more comedic.
Which it becomes like it's not at first.
Yeah.
And then kind of as I mean, it doesn't take long, and then it kind of is, and then you're kind of like, whoa, what? Like, because it becomes comedic, like when he's shooting his hand and
the scene where he has to lop off his own hand and it's alive and it's like running around. It's very Tom and Jerry-esque slapstick comedy and stuff. And I like that. I really like that scene. I also really like the laughter scene. You know what I'm talking about? Where
it's really crazy.
It's sort of Ash kind of drifts into insanity at this point, and he begins to.
Right.
He kind of begins to lose his grip because of all the crazy stuff happening.
So for those of you that don't know, like in the scene, he's in the living room, and there's
of this cabin.
Yeah, this cabin, and there's a deer head, And the deer head looks at him and starts laughing.
It's really creepy.
And then a lamp starts moving up and down, starts laughing.
The books on the shelf.
Yeah, everything starts laughing. And he starts laughing, and he moves up and down with the lamp, and he's laughing with them. And then all of a sudden he hears, like, it sounds like a deadite, which is what they call the undead things that come from the book or whatever, through the front door.
People listening are like, they keep using this word deadite.
Yeah. It's like the bad guys in the movie. And he shoots at it, and it's actually a girl that's okay, and he hurts her arm. And that's where we go from there in the movie.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about this, because I think this is something that the Evil Dead franchise does. It's rare in horror movies, and it's definitely something that I think that this franchise does better than any other franchise. But most horror movie franchises are kind of built around the protagonist. Not the protagonist, the antagonist. You know what I'm saying? Like,
no.
Like the face of the franchise is the bad guy. Like you got Freddy in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, Jason in the Friday the 13th franchise and stuff. But the Evil Dead franchise is one of the few examples of a horror franchise where the protagonist is really the face of the franchise.
Well, it's action horror.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
action horror comedy, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that
which is the best kind.
It does lend itself to that in a way, so like that sets it up where the protagonist can be the star more. But there are plenty of other franchises that, you know, focus on comedy and stuff too, where the antagonist is still...
Action horror comedy is the best kind. What do you think? Comment below.
What do you mean it's the best kind?
It's better.
Better than straight up horror?
Yeah.
Well, I don't necessarily agree with that, but I'm a huge horror fan in general.
Most people are.
Yeah.
You're
not.
I'm not.
You're not.
I'm not.
So it's kind of funny that you like this franchise.
I know,
so much,
isn't
really.
it?
I mean, would you say these are your favorite horror movies?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Without question.
They're among my favorites, for sure.
If you were to see me on the street, like I'm walking down the sidewalk,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah, I'm picturing it right now.
Right down the street,
yeah.
And then you walk up and you're like, is this your favorite franchise? And you're like, absolutely.
With
no question.
With no context. You just say, is this your favorite franchise?
Right.
You don't specify.
You know what it is? Is this your favorite franchise?
Yes, The Evil Dead. Well, yeah. Okay. Okay, so back to what I was saying is, I mean, there aren't a lot of other horror franchises, though, that are built around the protagonist. The only ones that really come to my mind right now, and they're also sort of horror action blends and stuff, would probably be the Alien franchise.
Yeah,
Which has Ellen Ripley. Sigourney Weaver's character.
Right.
Which, I mean, that one kind of has both. Like,
no comedy.
No comedy, but what I'm saying is both is like the protagonist and the antagonist of that franchise are both very iconic.
Yeah.
I mean, the Xenomorph and her. I mean, they're both fairly equally iconic, I would say. And then the only other one I can really think of is the Underworld franchise. The Kate Beckinsale, what's her character? Celine? Is that her name?
Yeah, but would you call that horror?
Well,
is it really horror? I would call it more action.
It has horror elements in it. I mean, it has... It's not straight up horror. No, it's definitely not. But it has those elements, so I think it qualifies for what we're talking about.
Wow, she's hot in those movies.
Kate Beckinsale?
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me right now?
Woohoo! You have anything?
Anyway.
You have anything else you want to say about Evil Dead 2? Because we literally just watched this.
Right.
Like
so,
a couple hours ago.
So the cool thing about the beginning of Evil Dead 2 is they reference medieval times and a chosen one. So, you were talking about the continuity not really lining up. So at the end...
This is an example where it does line up.
Yeah, right. That lines up, but here's where we're kind of talking about some spoilers, but if you haven't seen these movies, then fuck you. That don't really mean that.
No.
So anyway.
He does not mean that.
So
we love you all. Especially me.
So the thing is that at the end of Evil Dead 2, he lands in medieval times, and he's standing there, and
Yeah, he gets sucked into this vortex.
Right, and then
That-
this harpy comes down, and he's got his chainsaw arm, which if you've seen the series, you know that chainsaw arm is like a staple, and he kills the harpy thing, and then they like worship
he shoots
him.
it.
Oh no, he shoots it right.
With
He shoots
his-
it. Sorry,
with
with
his
his
shotgun.
shotgun. Anyway, so and then they worship him, and he's like, no, which confuses me a little bit because I wanted to be worshipped. But so at the start of,
I think he's just so done with it at that point. Like
probably
he's been fighting these things
he's
for
like,
days,
come the fuck on, yeah.
and now he's transported through time,
you're
and
probably right.
they're still there.
Yeah, it's like, come on, damn it. So going back to what was it? The 20th anniversary.
25th anniversary. Yeah.
So 25th anniversary of Army of Darkness. This movie leads right into that. But the beginning of Army of Darkness,
once again, is
sort
loose-
of the same.
a loose retelling. Once again, no, it's not the same at all.
Well, when he falls from the sky.
That's it. That is the only part that is the same.
That's
So
the
let me
only
set up. First off, I want to say, because now we're moving into Army of Darkness, I just want to say that originally Sam Raimi's plan was for the second Evil Dead movie to be set in medieval times. Like the Evil Dead 2, like the whole thing, the continuation in the cabin and stuff, that wasn't his plan at all.
Oh, that's another gift.
That's another gift.
Number 3.
The gift that keeps on giving.
Awesome.
This little outline.
Wait,
I
how
made.
many more do I have?
I don't know.
Okay.
Several.
Cool.
So yeah, originally his plan was to go immediately into the whole medieval thing. Would have been the second movie in the franchise and stuff. Don't know that it would have been exactly the same as Army of Darkness, but because obviously this Army of Darkness came out in '92, so now we're 11 years after the original movie. So I'm sure the script went through a lot of rewrites and stuff in that time. But all the way back in '81, when the first one came out, that was his plan for the sequel and stuff. But obviously they didn't have the money to make all that work at the time, so they decided to do some different stuff in between. They made Evil Dead 2. Sam Raimi directed several other movies in between there, like Darkman. What else did he direct?
He directed Darkman?
Yeah, he directed Darkman. That was his kind of first step into the superhero genre.
Oh, wow.
He would later get Spider-Man,
Yeah.
which ended up working very well for him.
Tobey Maguire.
Yeah, with Tobey Maguire, and he directed Crime Wave, which he
The fuck is that?
it's a movie that he wrote with the Coen brothers, who are my favorite directors. I'm a huge fan of the Coen brothers.
I've never heard of this movie.
Yeah, they lived together for a while. Sam Raimi and the Coen brothers lived in an apartment together.
3 dudes?
Well, actually, Frances McDormand, who is Joel Coen's wife, she's an actress, best known for things like Fargo and most recently 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
3 dudes and a chick?
Okay, no, there's more. Holly Hunter.
3 dudes and 2 chicks.
Well, I may be wrong about this
Jesus
one,
Christ!
but I believe Kathy Bates lived with them as well for a little while.
3 dudes and
3 chicks, yes.
3 chicks? Okay,
Yes.
I lost count.
Yeah, well, you also did not know how old you were in 1992
true.
earlier. This is not a math podcast.
Imagine there's orgies for days.
I doubt they had orgies. Get your mind out of the gutter.
Alright.
What was I talking about?
You were talking about,
Oh, Crime Wave.
yeah.
The movie Crime Wave. He directed that and stuff. We'll probably talk about
I don't know anything about this.
It's a movie that he directed that's a B movie, and it's not very good, but it's definitely worth watching if you're a fan of Sam Raimi, if you're a fan of Bruce Campbell, if you're yes, he's in it. He's in every Bruce Campbell, God rest his soul, is in every single one of Sam Raimi's movies.
Bruce Campbell's not dead, Matt.
Rest in peace, Bruce. You will be missed.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he's in every single one of.
Wait. So is he like a big deal in Crime Wave?
Yeah, I mean he's
He's like a main character.
yeah.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, and
Because if he wasn't, then fuck that. I don't want to watch it.
yeah, he plays a pretty major role, and anyway, so if you're a fan of Coen's, Raimi, Bruce Campbell, you should definitely check it out. But anyway, where was I? Oh, this was all stuff that was going on in between the Evil Dead movies and stuff. So obviously Army of Darkness ended up being the third movie. He finally got to do his medieval themes that he wanted to go into. So the movie's set in the year 1300.
Your dreams can come true.
Yeah, Sam Raimi made his dreams come true. Anyway, I was going to talk about the continuity because it gets all messed up again because you were like, oh, well, it's sort of the same. It's not. That one scene where him and the car fall out of the sky is the only thing that's the same. Basically, what happens is the movie begins with Ash kind of talking about the events of the past movies. He mentions the Necronomicon bound in human flesh and inked in blood. And
hold on.
Yeah, what?
So, in the Evil Dead 2, he's falling, right, from the sky.
Yes.
Right.
After he goes through the vortex back in time, yes.
Right. And Army of Darkness is 6 years later, and he falls through the vortex. So he's in the vortex for 6 years. He's actually time traveling. Further into the future.
Yeah, he goes back in time.
Yeah. But, like, he lands in the first movie.
You're saying, like, he's aging all along? And
yeah, no. Like, he lands in the first movie, but then, I don't know, he gets sucked back up. And then he's in there for, like, 6 more years.
So you're saying that as he's time traveling...
There's no harpy, and then that's when he gets...
I think you're just trying to explain why the series...
I'm pretty sure that's what happens.
Okay, sure. Okay, well, explain this.
If you know, comment below.
Yeah, no one knows. Except Sam Raimi, possibly.
I wonder if we could get him to tell us.
If we could get Sam Raimi to be a guest.
Yeah.
I'll try to call him in a little while. I really wish we could have got Bruce Campbell before he passed, though.
Matt, Bruce Campbell's not dead.
Anyway, so the beginning of this film starts out with yet another retelling of the events of the first movie with yet another actress playing Linda, Ash's girlfriend. This time it's Bridget Fonda, randomly.
I mean, if you're going to redo it...
Who doesn't even look remotely like the other two women.
If you're going to redo it, you might as well go big.
Well, I mean, Bridget Fonda was a nice choice and stuff, but she doesn't look anything like the other girls and stuff. So anyway, it also kind of retcons a little bit and sets up that Ash was an employee at a market store called S-Mart. Shop Smart.
Shop Smart. Shop S-Mart.
Yeah. So yeah, the continuity in this series is dicey, but if you ignore it, you'll have a fun time watching this series and stuff. It also, we mentioned how Evil Dead 2 kind of blended horror and comedy. This movie kind of shifts away from horror almost altogether, leaves some elements and stuff, but really it's much more of a medieval. Quit trying to look at the notes and see the surprises that are coming up. It's more of a medieval fantasy action comedy.
Yeah, like action comedy
with horror elements.
Yeah,
they're still there.
They're not really. There's like 1 or 2 jump scares.
There's some jump scares.
That's it.
The fact that the Deadites are still sort of horrific looking.
Yeah.
And things like that. I mean, that's still the horror elements that I mentioned, but it to call it a horror movie would definitely be stretching it.
Yeah.
It's not much of a horror movie, but a great movie altogether. I like this movie a lot, but it probably is my least favorite in the franchise, and only because, like I mentioned before, I'm a horror fan, so
yeah,
I prefer the ones that have a little more horror in them.
Yeah, so this is my favorite.
Yeah.
I mean, my favorite movie by far.
Oh, understandably so. I mean, it's definitely probably the most rewatchable, the most quotable, the funniest. I mean,
for sure.
It has a lot of good stuff for it, but just my taste lean towards horror.
What's your favorite quote in the movie?
Favorite quote? Wow, there's so many great ones.
There's a lot.
I'm pretty fond of when he makes it out of the pit and he's
he climbs out.
Yeah, he climbs
out
of the pit and he's like explaining all of this stuff and
who wants some?
Yeah.
You want a little?
Yeah, you. What does he call them? Primitive screwheads.
Right.
Listen up, you primitive screwheads.
It's so much as touch touches me.
But my favorite quote is, so he has these people amazed by his sort of modern technology, his shotgun and his chainsaw, and he holds up his shotgun and goes, "This is my boomstick."
Yeah,
that's
very
probably
good.
my favorite quote.
It's
And then he
very
goes into this whole thing about how you can find it in the sporting goods section at S-Mart and stuff, as if they
Right
have
in
a
the
clue what
housewares
he's talking.
department.
But they're just listening in amazement to
Right,
everything,
they're
and
just
they're
all looking
scared
at
to
it.
death.
Right.
I like that. That's probably my favorite quote. What's your favorite quote?
My favorite quote's a little bit later in the movie, when he has to go find... Okay, so in the Evil Dead movies, the reason that all the bad shit comes is because the recording recites words from the Necronomicon.
Yeah.
So
Book of the Dead.
Right. So he's going to get the Necronomicon because it's back in the... it's back in the medieval times. He's going after it. So, but before he picks it up, he has to say 3 words. Klaatu, Varata, Nikto. Or is it Niktu?
Well, that's the problem. He can't remember.
It's
either.
one of the two. He says one of the two.
He
Even
says-
when he repeats it, it's wrong.
It's an N-word.
Yeah.
It's an-
So there are 3 books, and if you watch the movie, it's funny. But when he gets to the book, he needs to pick up. He goes Klaatu, Varata, Niktu.
I like that part too. That's
And he
right.
goes, "All right then." And then he picks it.
That makes it so much better.
Yeah, and then he picks up the book, and all hell breaks loose. That's probably my favorite.
Well, maybe I didn't say every syllable, but
Right, every single
basi-
syllable,
I
no,
basically said them. Yeah. Oh, so I mentioned earlier that the first Evil Dead had a title change, where Sam Raimi wanted to call it the Book of the Dead, and ended up being Evil Dead. This movie actually had a title change as well. Actually, it had 2 title changes.
Oh no! This is wait, 2 gifts.
This is like the 4th, probably. I don't know.
Yeah, but no, if it's got 2 title changes, I didn't know either one.
Oh, you mean 2 and 1? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so Sam Raimi wanted to call the movie, and this would have been so much better. I wish this was the title. He wanted to call the movie Medieval Dead.
What?
Would have been such a better title.
That is really fucking good.
Yeah, well, the producer did not think so. He did not. I know. What's wrong with these idiot
Somebody needs to
producers?
smack the fuck out of that guy.
Yeah. Like
That's a great name.
Spacemen from Pluto. If we ever do an episode on Back to the Future, we'll go into that more in depth. But
Medieval Dead. Damn.
Medieval Dead would have been great, and the producer didn't
shit.
like that, and he thought that the movie needed a title that stood on its own. So Sam Raimi pitched Evil Dead 3: Army of Darkness, and the guy was like, let's just cut out the Evil Dead part and just call it Army of Darkness, because he wanted the movie to basically stand on its own 2 feet. People would go to it thinking it was a movie unrelated to the Evil Dead movies, I guess, which some people probably did make that mistake. I mean, if you didn't know any better, if someone just said, hey, check out this movie called Army of Darkness.
Wait, he just falls from the sky, and you're like, wait.
Well, you would figure it out pretty quick.
Yeah, wait a minute, what happened?
If you had seen the other movies.
Yeah, but I think they were betting that people didn't.
Oh, no, that's
why they called it Army of Darkness.
Yeah, that's what I was...
Wait, so is that the other title?
What?
The Evil Dead 3: Army of Darkness?
That was what Sam Raimi came with.
That's the other.
That's what he came up with after...
That's the other title
Yes,
you were talking.
yes.
That's a piece of shit gift.
I didn't say it was going to be good.
That sucked.
Medieval Dead.
Medieval Dead's great.
That would have been a great title. Here's something that I think is hilarious about... It's not even about the movie, but when this movie was being released in Japan, usually in other countries they come up with their own posters and ways to promote the movie. Mm-hmm. So there's this poster for Army of Darkness that was used to promote the movie in Japan. Those of you listening at home, I'm about to show this to Joe. He's never seen this before. You can just Google Japanese Army of Darkness poster, or maybe we'll put a link down in the description.
This is a lot better gift than that second title of the movie.
So you're about to hear Joe's reaction to the poster, the Japanese poster for Army of Darkness.
What the fuck?
Does that tell you anything? Describe what you're seeing.
What is... Okay, there's a bald guy in the back that's going, moon.
There's no bald guy in the movie. Well, there are bald guys in the movie, but they definitely don't have a major enough role.
Okay, he does say, give me some sugar, baby. That's
He does
right.
say that, but...
And there's an upside down...
Tell me how much medieval stuff you see.
Army of Darkness soup. There's an upside down can that says Army of Darkness
I like
soup.
that there's a
and there's a
Campbell's-
can that says
a
Bruce
Campbell's-
Campbell. Okay, that's
Yeah.
funny. But wait a minute. This is what... Moon! I like that. But it makes absolutely no
Does it
fucking
tell you
sense.
anything about the... Where's the medieval stuff?
No.
Show me something medieval.
Look, there's the Deadite that you don't ever see.
Yeah, there's very few Deadites actually in the movie. but
Look, and
it's
there's the
one of
little dudes you hate that we'll talk about later.
Yeah, the little guys.
This is nuts.
I think the part that you're missing that I really want to call attention to is there are dolphins leaping through a coat hanger at the bottom.
Oh, yeah, there is.
There are no dolphins.
What
no
the fuck?
I have no idea. That is
Another Bruce Campbell can.
That is.
I like that. And there's also a bag of groceries at the top right for some reason.
I mean, I guess that's S-Mart, but still, does that tell you anything about the movie? Like
Somebody's buying a lot of breadsticks, I'll tell you that right now.
baguettes, like sticking out of the.
And there's a couple freeze frames from the movie. There's one where he's looking at what's her name? What was her name?
Sheila.
Sheila. He's looking
The
at Sheila.
love interest.
And there's one where he's got his new chainmail arm. And there's one where I guess Sheila's getting taken by the harpy dude.
Yeah.
And then there's one where he's standing and he shoots somebody with a shotgun.
I like how in a movie though that's set in medieval times, really the only medieval thing is there's a small castle in the background.
I really want to know what those little banners are saying. Okay, and there's a pillar. Bleh. There's a pillar that's just breaking for some reason.
Yeah, and that doesn't happen in the movie.
Moon.
I mean, isn't that a crazy poster?
It's amazing.
I love the poster, but it's an awful representation
of the
movie.
I bet you the bald guy's a blacksmith. You just can't see his mustache. You don't know.
But why put him on the poster?
And why tell him? Why is he yelling moon?
I don't know. Anyway,
this is amazing.
We could do a whole episode on this poster, analyzing.
I want to know what the signs say.
I said if you haven't seen it, just
moon.
Just look it up. There are inexplicitly dolphins leaping through a coat hanger. I think that bothers me more than anything. There's also this random skeleton arm. Did you notice that?
Where?
Which right there,
next to the Campbell.
Yeah. Which I mean, that's something I want to talk about in this movie. One of the things that I don't like about it is I like the Deadites. I like the Deadites that are like the sort of demonic-looking humans with the white eyes.
So to clarify, the Deadites are like people
who are possessed by this spirit from the Necronomicon
right.
and stuff. This evil force.
And then after my favorite quote of Army of Darkness, he picks up the book and obviously fucks up the words.
Yeah.
So it awakens the Army of Darkness, which
an army of the dead.
Are skeletons.
Yes, and even though I agree with your points that it was probably because of the budget, and also because obviously they'd been dead for a long time and they would probably just be skeletons, I think it would have been cooler, and once again this is probably the horror fan in me talking, I think it would have been cooler if it had been an army of sort of zombie Deadites as opposed to the skeleton ones.
Zombies are overdone. They're overdone now. Skeletons.
Yeah, but I think if you look at the Evil Dead franchise, the Deadites in their usual form, which are the, grotesque, zombie-esque, demonic creatures, are... I mean, those are the bad guys.
Medieval times. Skeleton Deadites.
Well,
modern times. Fleshy Deadites.
Well, that may be what they were going for. I just would have personally preferred it if there had been more fleshy Deadites in Army of Darkness. That's my personal opinion on it.
Well, I mean, like, if you were the guy dealing with the budget of the movie, then I get your point, but you weren't.
Which this movie obviously had a bigger budget than the others. Yeah.
I fucking love it.
Oh, I do too.
Let's get the hell out of here!
That's That's a good line.
Good stuff.
We probably didn't mention like the most iconic quote of the movie. It's actually the very last thing said in the movie. After Ash kills the Deadite woman, who's a fleshy Deadite, much
See,
like I prefer.
you get what you want at the end of the movie.
Yeah, he kills her at the store with a.
Because, okay, again, like we were talking about, slight spoilers. At the end of Army of Darkness, he has to drink this juice, and he has to also say the exact same words that he was supposed to say before he picked up the book, and obviously fucks it up. So he goes into the modern day.
He goes back to modern day. He's back working at S-Mart. He's telling one of his co-workers the story about how he could have been king back in medieval times and stuff. A woman, an attractive customer, overhears him telling the story and says something like, I think your story about how you could have been king was kind of cute or whatever.
Right.
And about that time, a woman in the store reveals herself to be a Deadite. She attacks Ash, and he kills her with a Winchester repeater rifle.
There were a lot of bullets
Yeah.
being shot at that woman.
Yeah, which made more sense than when he was doing it with his double-barrel shotgun, firing more than 2 shots without reloading. But only a little bit more sense, but it makes more sense. Anyway, though, he also, when he jumps up on that cart, he throws it in the air for no reason.
Yeah,
because
be
he's
fancy.
going in that direction
Just being
anyway.
fancy.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. But anyway, so he kills this Deadite woman, and the customer, the attractive customer, he goes to kiss her, and he says, "Hail to the king, baby."
Yeah, I
That's
think
probably-
actually she worked at the mart. I
Did
think
she? She wasn't wearing
employed.
a. She wasn't.
She
wearing
had a little apron.
Did she?
Yeah.
I thought she was just wearing a skirt.
Well, she had that too.
We'll have to check in on this. If you know, comment below.
If you know, comment below. I'm pretty sure she was an employee.
Well, maybe she was.
doesn't
I
matter.
may be wrong. Either way, we just said the quote anyway. That's
Right.
that's where we're going with this.
It doesn't fucking matter.
So, anything else you want to say about Army of Darkness and the original trilogy?
Awesome. Oh, I mean,
Oh, actually, I have something else I want to say.
yeah.
There was an alternate ending to Army of Darkness.
Another surprise.
Another surprise. You were not aware that there was an alternate ending?
Okay.
Okay, so Sam Raimi...
Okay means I don't know.
Yeah. Sam Raimi had plans to continue the franchise with a follow-up movie, Army of Darkness 2 and stuff. And it once again would have played with the genre a little bit.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Basically what happens is Ash goes forward in time. He emerges with long hair and a beard for some reason.
Okay.
To find that the world is sort of a dystopian, like the buildings are wrecked, like it's something like out of the Twilight Zone,
Okay.
Planet of the Apes or something.
Okay.
Like he gets there and he sees that buildings are all collapsed and the world is in shambles and stuff. And basically, if Army of Darkness 2 had happened the way Sam Raimi wanted it to, it would have been sort of a dystopian sci-fi movie.
I was gonna say it sounds like almost sci-fi-ish.
Yeah, which I definitely would have loved to seen,
Damn.
but it didn't happen, and probably never will, because the series has recently taken a different turn. But we'll talk about that in just a little while.
God damn it!
Any other final things about Army of Darkness before we move on?
I'm really disappointed now.
That we didn't get that sequel.
Yeah.
Well, don't lose hope, because there's still potential future for the franchise. Because the franchise continued in 2013 with a sort of remake, soft reboot, sequel. It's sort of all of those combined movie, simply called Evil Dead, where the first movie back in 1981 was called The Evil Dead. This one is just called Evil Dead. Sam Raimi produced the film and had some say behind the scenes and stuff, but he handed the reins over to a up-and-coming director named Fede Alvarez, who directed this movie And I gotta say, I enjoyed this one, but Joe is making this face. I know that he did not like this movie, so I'm gonna let him talk about why he did not like this movie.
He directed the biggest piece of shit.
Whoa.
I mean, not ever.
That's harsh.
But
That's harsh.
but this has no place, and it doesn't have a place
Sam
in
Raimi
the Evil
disagrees.
Dead.
Sam Raimi disagrees.
Sam Raimi can eat a 6-pack of dick because he's wrong. This movie sucks. Why does it suck? Because there's no, number one, there's like no hero. I mean, I guess there is.
There is Mia.
But
Yes.
she sucks.
She does not suck.
So, and also, the tree rape scene.
Okay, once again, there's a tree rape scene. In
Yeah,
this
they
movie because,
do the tree rape scene again.
Well, like I mentioned, this movie is
And it's worse!
it's both a remake, a sort of soft reboot, and a sequel.
Am I turned on by the tree rape scene? Absolutely fucking not.
Not this one, the original.
Yeah, the original one, whoa, let's rock and roll.
It was much sexier.
This one sucks.
No, it doesn't.
It's awful. Why do you like this piece of shit?
I mean, did you not find it horrific at all?
No.
Not at all.
I didn't...
Not any moment in
The
this movie.
Deadites were not... The dude with the long hair keeps reading out of the goddamn Necronomicon. Stop, motherfucker. Quit.
All right.
And he keeps doing it.
Okay, let me ask you a few questions to try to decipher exactly what you feel about this movie, because obviously you feel strongly. First off, do you believe it is a bad movie? Period. A bad movie. Overall.
I mean, like if it wasn't connected...
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Is it a bad movie?
I'd say no.
No.
I'd say no.
Would you say it's a competently made movie? Well made?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you go as far to say that it's a good horror movie?
Mediocre.
Okay, mediocre. Okay. So you think it's a bad Evil Dead movie?
I think it's a fucking abysmal piece of dog shit Evil Dead movie.
Okay. So, I would say probably your biggest complaint would be that Ash isn't there.
I mean, maybe, but
Maybe.
again, if you watch the movie, ladies and gentlemen, the long-haired blonde motherfucker keeps reading out the goddamn...
I think his
Stop,
name-
asshole!
I think his name's Eric.
I don't give a shit what his name is. This dumbass is what it is. I mean, that doesn't
He
make any
is-
goddamn sense.
He is by far the worst character in this movie.
And then...
Not the
again,
strongest actor.
And again, it happens at the end, and, he becomes a bad guy. Remember, we said, minor spoilers. If you want to watch this movie, then go right ahead, because it's a piece of shit.
No, it's not. You just said it was a mediocre horror movie that is competently made.
So if you've never seen an Evil Dead movie, then watch
Oh!
this movie.
No, don't start with this as your first Evil Dead movie. Don't.
No, I think you should start with this one
Really?
and go, wow, this was and then go to the Evil Dead, and you're like, all right, this is
I don't
what
think
it's about.
you won't appreciate the references, because there's a lot of well done references.
Doesn't fucking matter. If you watch Evil Dead and then go to this, you're gonna be like, fucking fuck.
I think that you're a little too cynical.
I mean, you're not.
I personally. Okay, well, let me just say my opinion on this,
Alright.
because obviously you just want to bash
It
it.
makes me angry.
It makes you angry. I can tell. Okay. So, I mean, obviously Bruce Campbell wasn't alive to be in this movie, so they had to go a slightly different
Matt, Bruce
direction.
Campbell was alive.
And it's a different group of teenagers. Well, not teenagers; they're like college-age students, and they are going once again to this cabin that's secluded in the woods for some reason, and all the same stuff happens. But
I wonder if it was in Tennessee too.
I don't know. That's an interesting question. I didn't look into that.
Probably not,
Probably not.
because it's a piece of shit.
Well, I don't know if I go that far. But basically, the first major change to the storyline is that the focus is on a female protagonist as opposed to Ash, the male protagonist. Her name's Mia. She's like a recovering heroin addict. and she gets possessed via tree rape. Once again, that's a lot more graphic and I would say more horrific. You said you didn't find it horrific?
No, I think the first Evil Dead movie seemed like, because it's like ripping her skirt
I mean,
and
this
stuff.
vine,
I think it's
comes out of a
I think
demon's,
it's worse than the first one.
This vine comes out of a demon's mouth, crawls across the ground, and then
right
goes
up
into her
between
vagina.
legs. Yeah.
I mean, that's
I guess
pretty
it kind of
horrific.
shows it more in this one.
Yeah, I would say it's more horrific. I would.
Yeah, but it doesn't turn me on, so fuck it.
Okay. Well, that's a point against it. It did not give you an erection.
Right.
Okay, so
Fuck it.
Anyway, a lot of similar things happen. Like a character has their arm possessed via a bite from a deadite, and they have to cut it off. I would say this one's done.
It happens twice in this movie.
It doesn't.
Oh no, it doesn't happen.
No,
twice.
one of the girls, not the main girl. I think her name's Natalie. She gets bitten by a deadite, and her hand starts to become possessed and moving on its own. And she decides that she has to cut it off, and she uses like one of those like electric like knives,
like a carver.
fillet knife or whatever, to cut her arm off and stuff. And then later, Mia loses her hand when a car falls on it. And she has to rip it off to get away from the demon that's chasing after her. And she, like Ash, uses a chainsaw,
She has the chainsaw
as a replacement hand and stuff. Did you like that scene when she uses the chainsaw?
That, I will say, that scene was badass.
That was, because also that was sort of a callback to one of my favorite lines from Evil Dead 2, which is when he decapitates the deadite with the long neck and stuff, and it's like, I'll swallow your soul, I'll swallow your soul, I'll swallow your soul! And he says, swallow this, and he shoots it. Yep. And in this movie, she's cut the legs off of this demon with the chainsaw, and it's crawling towards her, and it's like raining and stuff.
I'll swallow your soul.
It says, I'll feast on your soul.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And she says, feast on this, motherfucker. And like sticks the chainsaw right in its mouth.
Through its mouth,
and
yeah.
It just blood flies everywhere, and then she pulls it out, and it cuts through the head, and that was really
That part,
really cool.
okay, I'll give it up for that part. That part was badass.
I liked that a lot.
That should have been the whole movie.
The whole movie would have been that one scene.
Like 2 minutes or a minute and a half or whatever.
It was a good scene.
Evil Dead.
What did you think about the scene where Mia is possessed and she's down in the cellar and the one girl is going down there? I think she's like pretending to be crying and stuff, and the Natalie chick that eventually cuts her arm off tries to go down there, and Mia cuts her tongue with a knife, and
she's like licking her,
like kisses her, like sticks her.
Oh wait, I thought for a second I was like, she went down on her, didn't she?
No.
I was like, no.
No,
I'm still living in tree world. That's right, she kisses her.
You just wanted to be aroused by this movie so badly.
Because that's the only fucking thing it could do for me, because it's such a piece of shit.
It's not. I like this movie. Anyway,
I'm telling you, watch this movie
scene?
first. If you've never seen any Evil Dead movies, watch this one first.
I disagree. Watch the first Evil Dead first. Watch them in order. The way it's intended to be done. Don't listen to Joe. Okay. Anyway. So what did you think about that scene? The bloody kiss scene with the tongue?
Weird.
It was weird. What was your reaction watching that scene, though?
You know what? I was a little disturbed, to be honest.
Which is what you were supposed to.
Yeah, I wasn't
feel.
disturbed.
So it was successful.
I would much rather watch a chick be raped in the forest than watch some chick slice her tongue in half and then make out with another chick. Mm-hmm. That's weird.
Mm-hmm. Well, I bet you would have liked to so they had somehow worked those two things together.
You're probably right.
Probably would have turned you on more. But back to what I was asking you earlier.
And I would totally recommend the movie.
Back to what I was asking earlier, though. You do think that was a well done scene. It obviously got the response that it was intended to by disturbing you. So the movie is competently made. You think that it's a well made horror movie.
Yeah, that's what I said earlier.
Yeah, I'm just reiterating that.
But as far as falling
with
into
examples,
as far as falling into any kind of Evil Dead franchise, if that's what that movie's supposed to be doing, Kiss my ass.
I think it does a good job at paying homage to the original franchise with some callbacks and stuff. And there's also a post-credits scene that somebody didn't stick around for.
I
and
totally
watch.
missed it.
You didn't.
I thought it was... Okay, so next gift. Tell me about that.
It's really not much, but it definitely sets up what possibly could still happen, but probably won't.
Okay,
now that
so
Ash versus Evil Dead has
So
started.
after the movie ends, during the credits...
After the credits,
Okay.
there's a scene where you see Ash standing, sort of side view of his face and stuff, and he just turns towards the camera, looks at the camera, and says, "Groovy."
That's it?
That's it. But...
So pretty cool.
Yeah, it is, because it like I mentioned earlier, it shows that this movie is while it's a remake and a sort of reboot, it is still a sequel, because what was intended to happen is that Fede Alvarez, the director of this movie, was going to direct yet another movie. It would have been his Evil Dead 2, which wouldn't have been a remake of Evil Dead, the original Evil Dead 2. It would have been just a continuation of his movie and stuff. And Sam Raimi, around that same time, was supposed to get around to finally doing Army of Darkness 2. And what would happen is that those two movies would eventually lead into the seventh movie in the franchise, which would have been the crossover between the two, where it would have been Mia and Ash teaming up and fighting Deadites.
So wait a minute.
Yeah.
We get another piece of shit Evil Dead movie? We get an Evil Dead piece of shit too?
In your opinion, it would have been a piece of shit. I personally liked that movie.
And then that would cross over into the Evil Dead that I like?
Yeah.
The fuck does that work?
Well, it never happened, and it probably won't, considering the series is taking
Okay,
a different
so-
path now, but that was the plan.
Yeah, so the end of this piece of shit Evil Dead with Ash going groovy doesn't correlate at all into the Star series.
No. And probably never will.
Yeah, because the movie,
plans have changed. It's
Right.
possible.
right. And why do you think plans have changed? Because that movie's a piece of shit.
Well, I think that one, Fede Alvarez is working on different projects right now. Sam Raimi's working on different projects right now, and we have the Stars series that materialized and ended up serving as a continuation to Ash's side of the story. So we probably never will see any more of Mia.
Yeah, because that movie's a piece... Why would you just admit that it's a piece of shit?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was a really well-made horror movie. It's not a great entry.
If I had never seen Evil Dead, yes.
Okay, but as a standalone movie...
But you've seen Evil Dead,
Yeah.
so that movie's got to be a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just agreed.
Well, I mean, I don't entirely agree. I'm just saying... I agree that it's not the best Evil Dead movie, but I think that for what it is, it's a 2013 horror movie, so it's obviously going to be a lot different from the horror of the original Evil Dead franchise. It's going to be much more graphic. It's going to focus much more on really over-the-top, just graphic violence and stuff. I mean, so it obviously it's obviously a departure from what the original series was.
You're right.
But I think it still manages to pay homage in a couple of ways with the chainsaw arm, the callbacks to certain lines, and stuff. And I think that in that way, it's a good movie, except my big exception is the opening scene of the movie. I do not like it at all.
Refresh my memory.
Okay, the opening scene of this movie is unrelated to the main story.
Is it when everybody's getting together at the front of the cabin?
No, it's okay, so it starts with like the camera is from a girl's point of view and there's a bag over her head. And she's like freaking out and stuff. They remove the bag from her head and she finds herself in a room surrounded by strange people speaking a strange language and stuff. There are like dead skinned cats hanging from the ceiling and stuff.
Oh! Okay, yeah, we were talking about this earlier.
And there's this old... And you forgot. And
I did.
There's this old lady that is like saying things about like setting her soul free and stuff. And anyway, enters her father.
Right.
Who comes up to her and pours a a bottle of, I guess, gas, lighter fluid, kerosene, something, I don't know, something on her head and stuff. And the whole time she's like begging him to let her go, take her home, to look at her and stuff. She's crying and stuff, and he's like apologizing, saying that he's sorry for what he has to do. And he's trying to light a match, and he's struggling. And finally, like he finally strikes the match, and the girl, she's while still crying, she says, "I'll rip your soul out, Daddy." And which I like the build up to this point.
Yeah.
Sort of. I have problems with the rest.
She becomes your little fleshy deadites that you like.
Actually, she really doesn't.
She does.
No, she really
right when he lights her on fire.
No. Okay, so he lights the match, and it cuts to the match. It cuts back to her face, and it's changed ever so slightly.
She's a deadite.
She is, but compared to the other deadite transformations, it's slight. I mean, she still is a reasonably attractive girl.
Back in the day.
This isn't back in the day.
She's lucky. You're lucky she wasn't a skeleton.
Oh my gosh. We're not talking about skeletons anymore. Moving past that. So
you didn't like it?
Well, I like the build up into that point, but then when it
I didn't think that part was bad.
When it shows her transformation, she's barely transformed and stuff.
You can tell she's a deadite, though.
You can, and anyway, he lights her on fire and shoots her in the head, and she dies.
Right.
And stuff. But yeah, you can tell she's a deadite. But I
Good
feel
job,
like
Dad.
I feel like the payoff wasn't there, and also the problem I have with it is that scene. Other than basically setting up the fact that deadites are really good at, like, disguising themselves and making you think that they're still the person they're possessing and stuff. They're good at winning you over so you'll trust them and stuff. Other than setting that up, that scene has nothing to do with anything in the movie, and really it just raises more questions. Who are those people?
Yeah,
Why were there skinned cats hanging from the ceiling?
I totally agree, because when they get to the cabin...
Why is there no reference to that guy?
Right, yeah. Then that's just it.
Yeah, it's just... It's only there, basically, to show you, oh,
that's
deadites obviously possess people, and they're masters of persuasion, I guess. They potentially can be. Because like I said, later in the movie... the one that's possessed the Mia girl tricks her friend into coming down there, and that's when she cuts her tongue and stuff.
Maybe that's like telling you how fucking stupid the audience is. Just look, these are the bad people. Here's how it goes, folks.
Yeah, like they don't think the audience is smart enough to figure out, so they just spell it out for them. Possibly, it really could be.
2013.
I don't know. I like that scene.
People are dumb.
I think that scene would have been much better if it had just been the girl and her dad, and not all these other random people speaking strange languages and stuff. If it had just been her and her dad, and he's having to set her on fire, and you're like, why is he doing this?
Wait a minute, did it have subtitles?
Yeah, it had subtitles.
Of course it did, because it's a piece of shit movie.
Yeah, you don't like subtitles.
God damn it.
Yeah, it would have been better if it had just been that, and he's lighting her on fire, and then she does the, "I'll rip your soul out, Daddy" thing, and you're like, what? And then it cuts to her, and if she had been just a little more horrific, I mean, like I said, it was a small change. Like, look up an image of the girl during this scene. Like, she's only slightly less attractive. It's like they mess up her hair and give her some makeup.
See, I think I got up, like, I was watching the movie, and I knew what was about to happen. I had a feeling.
Like,
and I got up to get something to eat or something real quick, and then I came back, and she was on fire. And I was like, well, obviously she was a deadite.
Yeah.
So I didn't really see what she looked like.
Well, that's why you don't get up during movies.
Well, I mean, you get up during piece of shit movies.
Okay.
I'm not letting that go.
So let's talk about something that's not a piece of shit. Let's talk about where the series is now. The Starz television series, moving away from movies into television, Ash vs. Evil Dead.
Holy mother of God, this show rocks the shit.
I have to say, I've only seen 2 episodes at this point. I'm a little late getting to the series because... Okay, so here's my story with this series. I'm a huge Evil Dead fan. At this point in time, I had seen all the movies and stuff. And I was watching TV one day, and this promo came on, and it like shows like Ash and stuff. I'm like, that's Bruce Campbell. Like, he's alive, and he's Ash. And
surprise, surprise, man.
I know, I was shocked. And he's, like, you know, he has the chainsaw arm and all this stuff, and I was like, oh man, is this like another movie? Is this like, it's like Ash versus Evil Dead. I was like, what? It was like season 2 premiere. I was like, season 2? I was like, I didn't even know there was a season 1. So I look it up. I was like, how have I not known that this existed?
Yeah, it kind of really snuck under the radar.
I know, it kind of did. Like,
even when I watched it, I
yeah.
was like, what the fuck?
So I was so far behind that I never caught up, and I just started the series tonight, actually, watched the first 2 episodes, and I'm already in love with it. I said, after the first episode, I said it's maybe a little premature, but I think this may be the high point of this franchise.
Yeah, you think this TV series is way better than any of the movies.
Yeah, because my favorite thing up to this point was Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn, the second movie. And stuff, because it, to me, perfectly blended horror and comedy, and I think that Ash vs. Evil Dead, the series, does that even better.
You just don't like Army of Darkness because of the skeletons.
No, I didn't say I didn't like it.
If they were fleshy Deadites, then you would have loved the movie, I bet you.
It would probably
But also,
be my
the whole
favorite.
studio would have gone broke, and you never would have seen another Evil Dead movie ever.
I don't think that's true. It was produced by Dino De Laurentiis. He had money. He could have made it happen.
Oh. See, I don't know this shit.
Yeah, well, now you do.
All right.
You learn,
anyway.
Learn something new every day from this guy.
Back to the series.
I love it. I mean, I gotta say, I'm already pretty blown away with it.
What do you really like about it, man?
Well, like I said, I like how it perfectly blends horror and comedy, and that's something that I like that they kind of brought from Army of Darkness. It's all Ash's quips, all the funny things he says, which are there in Evil Dead 2, but they're not. They're not. As
He's
good.
like an '80s action hero.
Yeah.
You know,
he's still living in the past,
right.
so to speak, and he's that kind of that archetype of an '80s action hero. Yep. But it's 2015 is when this series premiered, and it's ongoing. So here we are in 2018, and it's just Bruce Campbell being Bruce Campbell.
Yeah,
like still,
it's fucking amazing.
Still the king of B movies.
If you guys haven't seen it, you need to.
Oh, definitely.
If you have seen it, comment below.
Yeah. One interesting thing about this series, and I haven't got this far in the series, but I'm just aware from my research, that when it started, they were not able to get the rights from, I believe it was Universal Pictures, to use any references to Army of Darkness. So, in the first season, there's no references to Army of Darkness. Ash mentions that 30 years ago or whatever, him and his friends and went to this cabin and stuff, but he doesn't mention anything about the time travel going back to medieval times or anything like that. And that's why, because they could not get the rights to do it. It's also why he works at a different store. He doesn't work at S-Mart. He works at...
That's right. If you watch the first episode...
What's it called? Like Value Mart?
Value Mart? Yeah, I think that's what it's called.
Something like that.
I remember seeing that and going, wait a minute, that's not where he works.
Yeah, well, it's not S-Mart because of that. It's also
I thought maybe he just got a different job.
Yeah, it's also why he doesn't have like his chainmail like medieval hand. He has a wooden hand.
That wooden hand wasn't in any of the movies, was it?
No, because he used the chainsaw and...
You know what I think it was? I think I've seen, because, okay, so I've seen all of the series, the episodes from season 1 and 2.
Yeah.
But it's been a while, so I don't really remember much. So I kind of thought the wooden hand was part of it. But that's not in any of the movies.
No. In the movies, he just has the chainsaw.
Yep.
And then in Army of Darkness, they build him with armor and chainmail and stuff. A mechanical sort of basic
that wooden hand's a big deal in the TV series.
Yeah. They made several jokes about it very early on when he's like banging that chick in the restroom and stuff.
He's hitting her with it.
Yeah, he asked her something like do you like my wood or something? What did he say?
I can't remember.
Something like that.
My favorite thing about episode 1, okay, the television series, is where he's got the chick in his Airstream, and they're smoking weed.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, I love poetry. And he's like, well, I got something for you.
Yeah, like
he's got the Necronomicon, and he opens it up, and he's got, like, notebook paper, how to pronounce the words to unleash the Deadites again, I guess.
And he's so high that he has no idea that what he's doing is
Right.
incredibly
So
stupid.
then he does it, and then he closes the book, and something happens where he's like, wait a minute. And then he just goes, fuck!
when he has that realization that he completely screwed up
Amazing.
and has
Amazing.
unleashed this plague on the
Right.
world.
It's all happening again.
Yeah.
Fuck!
I'm interested later on in this series because I haven't got that far into it, but I know Lucy Lawless is in it. I'm interested to see her. I'm a big fan.
She makes an appearance in the second.
Yeah, it was in the first episode. It was
Ah.
a small appearance, but I'm interested to see where her character comes into play
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Yeah. Sam Raimi actually produced and developed Xena.
He
Xena.
did?
Yeah. He very small.
Oh,
role.
wait, yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Bruce Campbell was the thief guy.
Yeah, he was in it. Yeah.
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 I remember that now.
Bruce Campbell.
That was good. I like that show.
Bruce Campbell is alive.
I'm glad you figured that out now.
Well, after a quick Google search and visit to his Wikipedia page, I found out that he's very much alive.
I also told you that about 5 or 6 times.
Did you?
I'm pretty sure I did.
Well, I don't recall. Anything else you want to say about Ash vs. Evil Dead? Anything?
If you haven't seen it and you're a fan of the movies, gotta check it out. Gotta check it out. It's very good.
What are some things you'd like to see in that series later? Because it's very possible, not for sure, but it's very possible this could be the grand finale for this franchise. I mean,
So, I mean, it's gonna sound
we may
silly,
never
but
get movies.
What do you mean? What do I want to see? Like,
Like what?
do I
would
want
you-
to see Bruce Campbell have a kid, and then he's like Junior Ash?
Potentially. Anything you might want to see in future episodes. Some stuff, some things you would like to see and go with the direction of the series.
I've seen season 1 and 2 of Ash vs. Evil Dead. The only problem is it's been a minute, so I can't really remember what happens.
Yeah.
So maybe if I think of something and it's already happened, then I apologize. I just don't remember. But I think something would be really awesome is if Ash dies.
Yeah. Like Bruce Campbell.
You already said he was alive,
I know.
so he's not dead.
Yeah. So if Ash were to die, like, what would you think? Like, how do you think would deal with that? Would that just be end of series, or?
I think if Ash dies, the Deadites die.
So you think that'd be like the end of the
And that would-
series?
yeah,
Like that's the
finish.
way to save the yeah. Well, I don't know if it happens because I've only seen 2 episodes and stuff. But something I would definitely like to see is more time travel.
Oh yeah, like going through the vortex and shit.
Yeah, like potentially we could get that Army of Darkness 2 that was supposed to be dystopian.
Like even
sci-fi.
go back to that time for a little bit and then
Yeah.
back.
Or back
cool.
even further. I mean, it mentions that the Necronomicon goes all the way back to the Sumerians and stuff.
It does?
Yeah.
When did it say that?
In like the first movie?
Oh shit.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Wow.
Yeah, so
That
I
would be
mean,
badass.
we could potentially go back even further, or we could go into the future and see, like I was talking about, that dystopian sci-fi, or anything. Maybe they could do something sort of meta and go back to the first movie and like try to undo Ash getting involved with the whole thing altogether. Like that could be interesting.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
That's a lot better than my idea.
having the main character die and end the series. Yeah, it is
Cash
better
flow
than that.
just ends.
Let me tell you, anything is better than that.
All right.
Okay, so that brings us to the end as far as talking about the Evil Dead franchise up to this point. I mean, there's been some other things, some comic books, some video games, a musical. There's an Evil Dead musical.
I have no idea that that's a thing.
Yeah, that's something that if you're interested in this franchise, you may want to check out. But we're not going to go into much detail on it. Yeah, so 4 movies and a fantastic TV series. That's what we have to deal with, and I gotta say, I like it, and I hope that I hope the TV series keeps going. And if for some reason it's to get canceled, then I hope Sam Raimi's able to maybe make some more movies. And personally, I wouldn't mind if Fede Alvarez wasn't able to make a sequel to his movie.
Fuck that.
I personally would like that.
Well, they're already doing a season 3 right now of the TV series.
Premiering
so
next month, I believe.
There we go.
Yeah, so you may want to check that out. And we will be back again next week with another episode of Matt and Joe's Media Overload. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, don't watch that 2013 movie.
You should watch it. I like it.
So, anyway, so we'll check you guys. Just heads up.
Do we know what we're talking about next week?
Yeah, I think next week we're going to talk about some video games.
Yeah, video games. We're
probably a plethora of different games. Probably newer games coming out. One I can think of right off the top of my head is Kingdom Come Deliverance. That just came out a week or two ago, and I've spent some time with it, and from the reviews I've read, it's very diversified. Like, some people really like it, some people really hate it. So we'll talk about that, and probably some other things.
I'm pretty excited about that. I'm not a huge video game guy, but
I make you play games. Yeah.
And I enjoy them.
Yeah.
Like I said in last episode when we were talking about anime and stuff, like, one of the reasons we're doing this podcast is to expand our horizons and go into more different forms of media and stuff like that. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. I'm excited about it.
Right.
And anything else you want to say?
No, I think that's going to be it. So without further ado, this is Matt and Joe's Media Overload.
I'm Matt.
I'm Joe.
And we'll see you next time.
Matt and Joe's
Media Overload.